These are the most shocking moments when amateurs beat poker pros at their own game. And first up, you're about to witness a college student step up and push the pros to their limits with his aggressive playstyle. In this hand, Bill Perkins goes for the big 3-bet squeeze with pocket tens in the small blind, and economics student Massimiliano Martinez looks down at his cards to see 9-5 of spades. With so much action in front of him, most players would just quietly get out of the way, but this kid isn't most players. He goes for a massive 4-bet bluff, raising it up to $16,000. Max was a relatively unknown player at the time, and he's betting that other pros will give him the benefit of the doubt this time. After all, there's no way this kid would dare to 4-bet bluff against a table full of seasoned pros, right? Perkins does make the call with his pocket pair, but at this point, he thinks his hand is only good for a set 9. If he doesn't spike that set on the flop, he'll have to get out of the way. The flop is 5-3-6 with a flush draw. Perkins flops an overpair, but Max picks up a flush draw along with his pair of 5s. Perkins goes for a 20k donk bet, hoping Max is holding something like ace-king or ace-queen. But Max keeps applying the pressure, firing right back at Perkins. He doesn't want to allow his opponent to play the hand on their own terms, and he's representing a stronger pocket pair like aces, kings, or queens. Perkins does make the laydown, even showing his hand in the process. Max can't resist showing one of his whole cards too. Even Phil Hellmuth was impressed with this one, and that's saying a lot. A ballsy bluff to be sure, but this kid's only just getting started. Max has shown that he's not afraid to bluff, but now he's about to show his sick hand reading skills. He opens the action with 10-9, and he gets a bunch of callers. Everybody seems eager to get involved in the pot with this kid, and if they're dealt anything remotely playable, they're coming along for the ride. We get an action flop, as almost everyone has something to play for. Martinez flops an open-ended straight draw, but he doesn't fire a continuation bet. In a big multi-way pot like this, he would really hate to get raised or check raised, so he goes for a more cautious approach, hoping to get a cheap turn card. Phil Hellmuth is holding nothing but ace-high at the moment, but I guess that's good enough for him. He goes for a big bet, and Minieri and Perkins quietly get out of the way. Of course, Max is not going anywhere with his monster draw, so he makes the call. We get another action card on the turn as Max improves to top pair, and Phil is now looking at an open-ended straight draw. Every time you pick up a lot of equity on the turn, it's usually a good idea to fire another barrel, which is exactly what Phil does here. He goes for a massive, almost pot-sized bet. The river is a relative brick, as no flush or straight draws get there. From Max's point of view, this is probably one of the safest river cards he could get. Martinez fires a small blocker bet, hoping to get a cheap showdown. But you know Phil is not going to make things easy for him.
Small bet into this pot, it's sort of a blocker slash merge. He's trying to bet a little less than what he thinks Phil would have bet.
Raise it. 45,000.
Phil raises 45,000 more.
Now, Phil's the kind of guy that makes a lot of tight just calls, so this raise is pretty polarizing, which means either full house or nothing. It's a very tough spot for Max, since he's the one guy at the table who absolutely cannot reload. If he called here and he was wrong, he'd be left with less than 25K. I know what almost every other loose cannon would do in this spot.
Please don't have forceful.
You got fourth?
I might have forceful. I might not.
Sick level.
Okay, call.
Wow.
Good call, you win.
That pot worth over 160,000 bucks.
Absolutely amazing call.
Hellmuth looks stunned.
Max kept his cool the entire game, and even Phil Hellmuth couldn't get under his skin, which is quite an accomplishment. But now, we're diving into one of the wildest hands we've ever seen, where an unknown amateur goes up head-to-head with one of poker's most feared high-stakes crushers, and makes them question everything they know about the game. Meet Vladimir Korzinin, an Estonian amateur player who came out of nowhere and won the Monte Carlo Triton tournament. Nobody even heard of this guy before, yet somehow he walks into a tournament full of seasoned pros and walks away with the top prize of $4.3 million. At the final table of the event, he faced sharks like Patrick Antonius, Fedor Holz, and Sam Greenwood, but Gambledore didn't even flinch. And in one of the most memorable hands of the entire event, Korzinin makes an insane hero call against Patrick Antonius. In this hand, Vladimir limps into the pot with ace-6 offsuit in the cutoff. Espen Jorstad competes in the small blind, and Antonius decides to see a free flop with queen-8 suited. We get an action flop as everyone catches a piece of the board. All three players have an inside straight draw, and Antonius gets an additional backdoor flush draw. Vladimir leads out with a bet. Patrick makes the call, and Gambledore smiles knowingly, as if he's telling Patrick that he knows what's about to happen next. The turn is a 10 of spades, giving Patrick some additional equity. Both players check through the turn, and the river is a total brick. Patrick has very limited showdown value, and he figures the only way to win this hand is to push his opponent out of the pot. He bets 300,000 chips, a small blocker bet designed to push Vladimir off of his medium-strength hand. Vladimir is holding only ace-high there, but just watch what he does next.
That card's better than queen high. And this is a difficult call to make for Korzinin. Look at that board. Your opponent check called you in the flop. There's not many bluffs, but queen 8 suited is one of them.
If he flicks in the call here, Randy.
When you have birthday? Which month?
December.
December? Okay, then I will present to you.
Oh, that's what you call.
Yeah.
What?
It's not today. It's not today my birthday.
No? Aye.
And with that amazing hero call, Korzinin adds to the chip lead and goes on to win the event, making Korzinin an instant icon in the poker world. And speaking of iconic poker moments, let's check out a few of Hellmuth's greatest blow-ups. Our next amateur will forever live rent-free in Phil's head, and you're actually just gonna soon find out why. Russell Harlow gets tangled up in a massive four-way pot with a marginal hand. Phil leads out for 6K, and Russell has a big decision to make. Russell has the third nut, as he's only losing to king of spades or queen of spades combos. He has a strong hand on paper, but Phil is not really known for pulling out massive, daring bluffs, especially in big, multi-way pots, right? Russell just goes for a raise right away, making Phil prove that he has the goods. Phil makes the call. The river is a queen of spades, a great card for Harlow. Now he's only losing to king of spades combos, and there aren't a lot of them left. Russell could definitely go for some value on the river, but he decides to play it safe, so he just checks behind. With 5 spades on the board, what do you think Phil could possibly have here? A bad call for sure, but things are about to get a lot worse for Phil. Phil is out for blood after that last hand, and he soon gets a chance for revenge. He open raises with 10-8 offsuit, and Muscle calls it with 9-8 offsuit. Both players flop trips, but Russ has a weaker kicker, so things could get really ugly for the loose cannon. Phil goes for a standard c-bet, and Russ raises it up to 10,000, confident that he has the best hand at the moment. Phil is savoring the moment before he fires back, raising it up to 20,000. At this point, you know all the money is gonna go in the middle sooner than later. Russ jams all in, and Phil snaps him off.
I call.
And Phil calls.
You got an 8?
Yeah.
I got a 10 kicker.
Listen.
Looks like a big chance for a chop, but there could be blood.
Okay, should I deal it? Should I do something crazy and deal it a bunch of times?
You should buy insurance.
Well, it's up to him too. I mean, he might only want to do it once.
No, that's one time.
One time. Keep it
All right.
manly.
A 9 would win it for Russ. Jack or higher would chop it. The turn, a 4.
Russ needs a 9 to win it. A 4, an ace, or some paint will chop it.
Let's get it over with.
The river. It's a 9!
Oh my God. What a bad beat that is. Hey guys, was that good for the game?
For a moment, it looks like Phil will finally get even against the amateur, but unfortunately for him, the poker gods had other plans. Phil is clearly fuming after that one, but nowhere near to how Patrick Antonius was feeling after this next hand. Patrick goes for an open raise with ace-8 suited, and he gets plenty of action. We go 4 ways to the flop, and almost everyone catches a piece of the board. Everyone checks to the pre-flop aggressor, and Patrick decides to check behind and see a free turn card there. All right, so the turn is an ace of clubs, which is a terrible card for Antonius. So now he's improved to a top pair, but unfortunately for him, Han Feng makes the nuts straight. Han leads out with a small, almost half pot-sized bet, and everyone gets out of the way. The action is back on Patrick, and he goes for a big raise, trying to put maximum pressure on the weaker part of his opponent's raise. Hun could definitely flat call here to conceal his hand strength, but he decides to play his hand straightforwardly and hits right back with a monster raise of his own. Now, at this point, Patrick should know his top pair is no good here, but he still makes the call anyway. The river is a 4 of hearts, a total brick. Hun bets out $45,000, a massive overbet. This is very polarizing, but it means he either has the stone cold nuts or he's holding complete air. Hun is trying to make his hand look like a bluff and induce a bluff catch from Antonius. Unfortunately for Patrick, there's a bunch of missed flush draws on the board, so his hand does look like a decent bluff catcher. After a bit of agonizing, Patrick does make the call and gets shown the bad news. A great play from Han, but our next amateur player managed to outplay the pros for an even bigger cash out. Our next protagonist is Gonzalez Cannon. Not only did this guy hold his own against the pros, he managed to outplay them for a 6-figure score. And in this hand, Cannon open raises with ace-jack, and Tony starts huffing and puffing right away. Tony defends his blind with 8-4 suited, and we go heads up to the flop. Cannon goes for a standard c-bet, betting just under half pot. Tony has a pair and a backdoor flush draw, which is good enough for him to throw in the check raise. Cannon really hates to see that check raise, but he still makes the call with his inside straight draw. The turn is an action card, giving Gonzalez top pair, and Tony now has the opportunity to improve to a flush on the river. Having picked up a ton of equity, Tony keeps barreling with another massive bet. Gonzalez has the best hand, but Tony has shown immense strength throughout the hand, so this is not an easy call to make. The river is a brick, and Tony misses his flush draw. He decides not to push his luck any further, so he checks. Gonzalez checks back and takes down the pot. And with that great call down, he shows that he can smell bluffs a mile away. But in this next hand, he shows he's capable of dishing them out as well. Now, Gonzalez is defending his small blind against Tony's open raise. When playing from the small blind, you should usually 3-bet or fold, since it can be very tough to play the pot out of position without the initiative. But this time, Gonzalez goes for a flat call, and we go heads up to the flop again. Both players miss the board, but neither one is ready to give up just yet. Tony makes a standard c-bet with his inside straight draw, and Gonzalez makes the call with his 2 overcards. The turn is a 9 of clubs, no help for either player. But suddenly, Gonzalez does something Tony wasn't expecting. He goes for a $3,000 donk bet. He's hoping to either push Tony out of the pot right away or prevent Tony from making a bigger bet himself. And sure enough, Tony lets it go. That was a courageous bluff for sure. But this next hand is even crazier. Next up, you're about to see one of the most iconic underdog stories in the history of high-stakes poker. This is Kien Nguyen, a Vietnamese immigrant and a former nail technician with no prior history of playing high-stakes tournaments. But in 2016, he actually won the World Series of Poker main event and walked away with the top prize of more than $8 million. How did this guy manage to outplay the pros in their own game? Nguyen earned his spot at the WSOP main event through a satellite tournament, then carefully navigated through a massive field of 6,737 players to get, finally, to the final table. And in a heads-up match, he faced Gordon Vayo, a seasoned online grinder with plenty of experience under his belt, and Vayo opens the heads-up action with ace-queen, and he immediately goes for an aggressive 3-bet with ace-5 offsuit. This is a great 3-bet bluffing hand, especially in a heads-up match. An ace blocker usually reduces the number of strong hands from your opponent's range, and ace-5 also has a remote possibility of making a wheel post-flop. So, but of course, Vayo's not going to go anywhere yet with his ace-queen, so we go heads up to the flop there. Nguyen misses the board, but this board heavily favors his 3 betting range, so he goes for a standard c-bet. Vayo picks up an inside straight draw and makes the call. The turn is a deuce. And now, Nguyen picks up some equity with an inside straight draw of his own. He goes for a massive double barrel, and that's simply too much pressure for Vayo. And with that fearless bluff, Nguyen takes the chip lead. He keeps applying the pressure throughout the heads-up match, slowly squeezing his opponent's stack, and soon enough, he gets an opportunity to go for the throat. He picks up King 10 suited in position and goes for the raise. Vayo only has 17 big blinds left, and he decides to take one last stand. But Nguyen snaps him off instantly.
Wind's got the best of it. Vayo with another uphill climb.
Gordon Vayo began heads up with the chip lead, but it has been exasperating, frustrating, and exhausting for him against the Las Vegas Gambler. And again, Kui Win, the former nail salon owner, on the brink of the title.
Gordon Veo, once again, on the bottom end, looking up, and there's a king for win, top pair. Veo with a straight draw, of course.
Now, Kui has had his fill of runner-runners. He doesn't want to see a double gutter deny him here.
I've never seen him. It looks like he's wearing like a Rocky Raccoon hat when it's backwards.
And it's
What? Never easy.
We're doing tomorrow.
Kui in a great mood. Gordon remains upbeat.
This is crazy. Well, I'm so
Oh, the
tired.
flop.
I know you're so tired. I'm so tired.
The main event is a grind. Veo needs help. The turn card is the deuce of spades. No help to Veo. Kui Win one card away from poker immortality.
Anybody follow the queen or Nate?
I don't know.
You just have to love the way Gordon Veo handles himself.
Can Veo pull out another double up, or is this Kui's time?
Veo needs a queen or an 8, or Kui Win is main event champion.
And the river card is a tray, and Kui does it!
Good game, man. Yeah, good game.
Kui Win outplayed them all. He is the 2016 World Series of Poker main event champion.
And just like that, Nguyen becomes a poker champion. With his unorthodox playstyle and fearless aggression, not even the pros stood a chance. Even Antonio Esfandiari said this was the most exciting match he's seen in his entire life. Speaking of exciting underdog stories too, let's just check out our last amateur who managed to outplay a table full of poker legends and walk away with the biggest cash out ever recorded in the big game. Our next poker amateur is Bob Ferdinand, a bus driver from Boston who took down the biggest score ever in the big game. So this guy really gave the pros a run for their money, and soon you'll find out how he did it. Bobby is dealt 5-4 offsuit in the big blind. He decides to defend against Elke's open raise, and we go heads up to the flop. The flop is King 6-4, and Elke fires off a standard c-bet. Bobby has a pretty marginal hand at best, but he decides to peel off one more card. A very awkward spot for Bobby so far, but then the turn card changes everything. A 4 on the turn gives Bobby trips, and he quickly checks again, just hoping for Elke to have something like ace-king or king-queen. The best part is, the 4 on the turn looks pretty harmless, and it's going to be hard for Elke to put Bobby on trips. Elke does continue barreling with another big bet, and Bobby catches him off guard with a massive check raise. This is a great play because it's very hard to extract value from your opponent when you're playing out of position. If he were to call here instead, he would need to either donk bet the river or go for a massive check raise. But in that scenario, nothing is stopping his opponent from just checking behind. Plus, a lot of river cards could kill the action completely, so it's wiser to get some value right away. And just when you think that this hand can't get any more interesting, Elke comes back with a massive raise of his own. The pressure is back on Bobby, but he feels something's off about his opponent's story, so he makes the call. The river is a complete brick, and Elke fires off another massive bet, betting 44K into a $60,000 pot. This is a very polarizing bet, meaning that he either has a monster hand or he's bluffing with complete air. In any case, he's putting a lot of pressure on a lot of medium strength hands in Bobby's range. Bobby has a relatively strong hand there, but is it enough to make the call? Well, Bobby takes down a massive pot, and by the end of the session, he walks away with a cool profit of $181,000. Not a bad score, but nothing compared to another amateur player who managed to outplay the pros for millions of dollars. His name? Chris Moneymaker. And if you want to know how a guy who had never even played in a live tournament before managed to become the world champion and change poker forever, then make sure to click on this video right here, and we'll see you there.